So you've completely wrapped your Cybertruck and you're good to go. So it's been a good amount of hours, really, since we installed this. We're gonna get a Vinyl Pro toolkit, but the reason why we provide that, it has a heat gun, it has a squeegee, and a couple other things. We also give you a torch, and this is actually most likely not gonna be used, but this is one of those, like, you absolutely need to do it. It's not sticking, this could be an option. We also give you these really, really easy to use Primer 94. It's an adhesive promoter. So if you have some areas that's just not sticking, this is your option. And in the Vinyl Pro Toolkit, you'll get a bunch of tucking tools, but you'll also get a squeegee as well. So these are some of the things that we're gonna be using all throughout, but we'll get started with the fenders. So the main thing is you're gonna use a heat gun and you're gonna heat it up just a little bit. And you wanna be in a high heat, the highest heat. And you're just going to heat that edge. And then once you heat that edge, I want you to start with this corner. And you're gonna push it in all the way, okay? And you're just going to fold that over. And the goal is to really grab it, not just on the edge. The edge is not very easy to grab, but you're really gonna grab it inside the edge as well, right? So that's what you're aiming for. Great. All right, so I got my corner, and once I have my corner, I can push the other one as well. So you're just gonna go ahead and push this in. Watch out for this rubber gasket. And you're trying to really let it stick to the metal. There's actually a plastic trim right there. And honestly, this, guys, is going to be the most difficult part of the install. So this turned out really good. It's sticking pretty well. Okay, this is where you could use your squeegee. My corner, for the most part, is good, but what you actually want to do is this torch. When you use torch, you want to be very, very light, literally just one. Typically, I have it at the highest setting, and literally you're just, I mean, you're not gonna have it long, right? It has a very, very high temp for a short period of time. So you're just gonna have bursts of it. I'm not gonna hold it in an area, right? This is butane. We're gonna put a video about how to refill this. We cannot ship it with the butane inside. So we're gonna show you how to do it on another video. But what you're doing is you're introducing massive amount of high heat and you're melding that in together. It looks really clean from the outside and it's really not gonna go anywhere. We typically recommend this mainly for this corner and the rear quarter panel area only. So just keep that in mind. You really won't need to use it anywhere else. This right here all the way around is gonna be exactly like right to the edge. So when you're aligning it in your install, just make sure this does not go over for color PPF. The other inner part, I'm not gonna show you in this one because I think it's easier to show you on the doors, but essentially it would be the same thing like the doors when we start explaining that. But since we have the pillar right here, I can show you the same spill. You're gonna go ahead and heat it up and go ahead and fold over. And you wanna use that glove to really get that line first and then just fold over. And again, when you do this process, guys, take your time. It takes a long time to do PPF edges. Significantly longer than color vinyl, in my opinion, okay? So you can see it gets a really nice install. When I'm using the finger, I really wanna push that edge down, and then after that, I roll it over the edge. The other problem area that you're gonna deal with is going to be this right here. The way that we have it designed is this goes right to the edge right here, and then it starts to taper off, and then there's an edge wrap right here. So same thing, you're just gonna push that in, get behind it like this, and then pull the vinyl squeegee towards yourself, and then that will make sure that it tucked behind it. This pillar itself, the stainless steel, is actually pretty thin, so it's not like, and it's really easy to access behind all that. So now that we have the fenders and then we have the pillars done, we're going to go ahead and talk about the hood and then the front. So for this edge, this is a fairly easy edge, mainly because it has the access is super easy, right? But I wanted to show you, okay, if edge does not stick for whatever reason, what would you do? So I think the first step is using an adhesion promoter. This is a 3M Primer 94, which is the most common one. Typically, guys, I try not to use it. I don't really use it for any other cars for the most part. But the Cybertruck, because of that steel, sometimes it does have some issues sticking with it. So this is a car that I do use it for. You just break this black dot. You just kind of do this, crush it. You hear that sound. It activates the adhesion. And what you want to do, guys, is just put it inside, okay? So you're just going to go inside the edge. You're not putting on the vinyl or anything. And that's all you're doing. And then you want to wait about a minute. So what I'd like to do is just make sure I have it right into the edge, okay? And then we're going to go ahead and start folding it inside the edge. And that adhesion promoter does make it a lot easier, right? Once you get to this, I like using the squeegee. And then just push this back, just like that. And I'm just gonna, look at that. So that's kind of how you do it. The back side is exactly the same, so you wanna square it up like this and then fold it over. So everything else like here is the same as well. So you could actually go ahead and do the same thing. Look at that, just focusing on the edge. This right here, you can take it off, but you really don't have to. But we're gonna go ahead and pull that back a little bit. There you go. Look at that, squared up. So the bottom edge right here is fairly easy. So before we close it, you can see how simple this one is. The bottom is really not what I worry about. It's a very easy access. Even when it's closed, you can kind of access it from there on out. Two areas that could be a little bit more troublesome, and that's why some wrap shops will actually remove this front panel, and sometimes they even remove this light bar. I try to weigh it, and for do-yourselfers, like how, is it worth it to remove all that? I mean, it just adds a lot of work. So I think what I would focus on is really, doing the edge prep underneath that area so that you make sure that it is good before you wrap it. So that's what I would try to do. That way you don't have to remove it all. I'll start with this, okay? So you can see right here, we're going to use a wrap glove as well. And you want to just start folding that over, okay? And once you fold it over, I'm going to go ahead and start squaring it right to the edge and sticking well. This is called the Pro Wrap Stick. It is actually a vinyl tool, but it's very helpful for PPF as well. What's going to try to happen is it's going to try to stick into the lights, okay? So we want to avoid that, because that's going to cause a lot of issues. So we can just kind of unravel it a little bit. And we can use the backside as well. And that's what you want to avoid, okay? You don't want it to stick at all to the lights, okay? So, okay, cool. So we can start using this right here. Okay, cool. So what I want to do is I want to wedge this and then kind of go from the edge right here and start folding that over, okay? So we want to wedge this and kind of work our way. I'm going to wedge that. Fold it in with your nails. And then fold it in with your nails. And what this is doing, guys, is we're creating some distance, right? We're creating a gap, because naturally there's a gap between this and here. And one of the challenges for this area is that you want to really have it grab into the edge, But then when you look closely up, you'll notice that it doesn't fully stick underneath it. So you want to just hold this angle like this and then kind of push it up, okay? So this will take some time, okay? This isn't going to be something that's just super easy. And you're going to spend a lot of time in this area. You're going to be doing the same thing all the way around. One other tip that I would say is you could actually save like a backing paper. So a backing paper, it's more likely that it's not going to stick. And you could just place it underneath this area like this. I'll just show you what I would do. Okay, here we go. So if I have this backing paper underneath, then I can actually start folding that down. I'll show you an example right here. Like that. And then you could start moving the backing paper like so that as you're moving around, it's not going to stick onto the light bar. So that's a tip. That's actually a common vinyl tip as well. So I think the next part that you might have some issues is actually right here. So this part is pretty self-explanatory, but you could also use the backing paper method right here. And you just want to make sure that it folds over all the way. So you got it kind of sitting on that top edge, and then you can use the squeegee. And then same thing, you want to push it into that wall. Okay, so same thing here. Okay, there you go. So once I start doing this, it's the same issue that you have on here. You know, is it sticking? And some areas you might be able to just push down right off the bat. But I think that it'll be a lot easier, because you can see, like, if I don't have the backing paper, it's gonna wanna stick. So we have the door here. I think once we show you the door, I mean, all the exposed edges is gonna be exactly the same. One thing to note is you should be putting this last, so I wouldn't have put this until I folded all over the edges. So just keep that in mind. But you can see that I already have the top edge. You'll see all these notches. It's hard notches of where the steel is bent. So what you want to do whenever you start with this is you want to use some heat first and make it a little bit softer so that it'll be easier to work with the film. And then once it's easier in high heat, you want to just fold over that corner, and then I'm going to do the same for this corner, and then after that you can fold it over. And there's a lot of material, and the reason why we did that is it's slightly different. You actually need a lot more material in PPF. It's thicker, it needs a lot more to grab other than this edge. So that's why we made it a little bit more. So we're going to go ahead and go down this as well. So just heat it up. All right, so same thing, we're gonna start with this corner. Look at that, just get it down there. And then, just like we did in all the other areas, you see this is also kind of a corner. There's not a cut in this one, because it was straight enough, but you want to start with that one as well. So you're just gonna fold that in, and then you'll avoid having creases. So in this case, exposed edge like this, you just wanna get incremental. So first I squared it, then I did the edge, and then after that I gradually go behind it like this. You know what I'm saying? Look at that. So everything is grabbing really easy, just like I did in the front. For some reason it's not sticking and you're having some issues sticking. This is where you can actually use the adhesion promoter. But typically, you know, I do that as a last resort. Like if it doesn't stick very well, then that's when you can pump that out, right? So this is the same thing. For both doors. The rear door is a little bit easier because you have access on both sides. One tip for the front door is I would have it open just a little bit, and then I would just do the same thing and kind of go over all the edges, and then see if I could reach it, and then you can go to the other side, open it fully. You can actually see all the color PPF on this side, and you're just gonna use a finger and then fold it in, and then make sure it attaches to the back side of the actual panel. So for the rear quarter panel, the most difficult part is going to be the corner. And this is very, very similar to the fender, actually almost identical as far as the rounded edge. So what we did is we have this V cut right here. And what you want to do actually is first focus on the top edge, and then after that it folds over. You're gonna see a little bit of silver, but we've actually adjusted it for the design for the newer ones. So just keep that in mind. So we're gonna go ahead and heat it up just a little bit. And then we're gonna use the glove, just fold that over, okay? And you can use your squeegee as well to kind of, one thing I've realized with PPF is that if you have like this down, you kind of want to get about 3-4 inches past that, because this is trying to pull everything up. So that's kind of why I did it like this. And then once you have this down, it's down really well and it's working, we can go ahead and fold this over as well, okay? And this is where the torch may be needed, maybe, right? And you can see that it's a nice little corner. It folds over each other. And then you're gonna do the same thing on both sides, right? You're gonna kind of square it like that and then get the edge. And then after that, you're folding it over. And this is where you could use your squeegee. Once it's all the way to the edge. Okay, so again, when you do have some issues of it sticking, I mean, I had no issues at all. Be careful not to get torch really anywhere here, but you're just gonna use a little bit of heat. And then this solidifies that corner. I burned that a little bit, but it's okay. So once you get this side done, you can work on getting this corner all the way edged in like this. And then after that, you can do the last one. And then there's a lot of space for your fingers to go underneath all of that as well. Some I've seen have very, very little spaces in between. And this is a trim that could be removed, but I typically don't recommend it. Use that backing paper and put it inside of that, so it doesn't stick anywhere that you don't want it to. And then pretty much you do the same thing. You run your finger all the way across, and then after that, you're going to use a squeegee and then run it all the way to that edge. And then after that, you're gonna just go and make sure that it sits behind this panel. We're gonna go straight into the tailgate. The easiest way would be to actually just open up the tailgate like this. And then you can see you have easy access immediately. So you can see there's that notch, and then you do the same thing where you kind of go over and then let this kind of go behind. So the difficult part, guys, is going to be right here, okay? All this area from about here down to the bottom, mainly because there's just not a lot of access. So the first thing that I want to do in this area is actually, I want to just use the squeegee. And I'm going to start with the bottom, because I'm going to just go ahead and fold this bottom edge right away. But you can use your squeegee right here. Just get it right to the edge. And then we also provide this tool. This tool is very, very useful for this area. And what it is you actually fold it and it goes behind it. You see how it goes like this, and then this allows you to pull towards you and put enough pressure where it's actually going behind it. So this tool is a killer. It's hard to access the backside. I mean, you could access right here with your finger, but really anything after that kind of gets difficult. So this is why you need this tucking tool to get behind that. Of course, the bottom is pretty easy, so you're gonna do the same thing and then just fold it over. Congratulations, guys. That is really the final step. But I would say the tip for this part is really just take your time, right? Once you get the hang of it, really squaring that edge and then going on the top of the edge, and then after that, folding inside of that. Once you kind of get that workflow done, it'll go a lot faster. But this is, I would say, even for a professional, the most difficult part of the process. So take your time and you should be good to go. Use some heat to really get it malleable, and then use some of these tools. These tools are going to be incredibly helpful. So other than that, we'll see you in the next module.